Appnext is a bit different creature in the edtech space. We as a savvy users of the motivation is to be part of something very, very big that is happening nowadays. I'm Elad Natanson. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Appnext. A couple of words about myself. I started my first business when I was 21, about 17 years ago. First startup in online marketing when the internet was just at the beginning. Ever since then, started a couple of other companies in the space of gaming, different services, different internet services, and other startups. All of the companies were mostly involved in user acquisition and online marketing. So that's one of the reasons why eventually we started Appnext as well. You may say I'm a family person as well. I'm a father to 5 cute kids, and trying to balance life between the two babies. Appnext started as an idea after a couple of other companies and many years in the internet space in general. We saw that the internet ecosystem was booming. There were many developers. Many developers released new apps, and the discovery became an issue. You had 2 million users. You had 2 million apps in the stores. Many companies wanted to make sure that many users are installing their app. So what we wanted to do is solve that problem, and to introduce technology that eventually does that. And that brought us to develop Appnext. It's needless to say that hiring and HR is a key for any team, any company that is built. Eventually is how the founding team and the management team goes and able to execute certain strategy and certain mission, and the team is key for that. The way that when we are hiring, we're always looking for people that are not just team players, but also creative enough and able to think out of the box in terms of how to solve different problems of they have in the day-to-day. People that are highly ambitious in what they do, in how they do it. And nowadays we have, for almost every position that we post, we have hundreds of people that are applying, which is great, and that helps us to do the recruitment more efficient and find the best of the best. Appnext is a bit different creature in the edtech space. When we started the company, we wanted to develop technology that will solve the discovery problem in mobile. When we've done that, we developed the technology that will enable developers to integrate different ads when they interact with users, and by showing these ads to their users, they're able to, one, recommend better content and better services for their users, and second, to generate revenue for them. But the overall mission, and that's what we are highly focused on, is to solve the discovery problem and keep on shipping technologies and products that are all around solving the mobile discovery. The motivation is to be part of something very, very big that is happening nowadays, which is how we experience our world through mobile. And if we are able to be at some place in the center of discovery of every user of what is discovering in mobile, we made our small part and small contribution to that, and that's our main motivation in everything that we do. We always measure the interactions that we have, the interactions that we create with users. How do they discover or return to apps through technologies that we create, and so on. Our technology is built for a couple of different partners. Most of them are developers, the ones that work day and night to release new apps and develop content that is consumed within the our mobile device. That's one. Second, we work with a lot of websites in the open web, the different websites that turn their business from that experience more and more users using their website via mobile, and how we help them out in their monetization needs. Different companies that are developing devices or are part of the device experience, they are also part of our publishers, and we are working really hard to develop tools that will basically help them monetize better, but also own their user experience better. In terms of publishers, the most successful are the ones that have more and more interactions with users. So the ones that manage to be part of the day-to-day experience of that user, whether it's a keyboard or a launcher or an app that constantly engages with the users, are the most successful in terms of publishing activity. These are the ones that have more and more interactions with the users and are able to leverage our technology to deliver better experience and monetization to that user. The advertising side, that was on the publishing side. On the advertising side, what we're experiencing lately is that more and more apps that are looking for discovery, looking for engaging users. At least the balance between budgets are shifting from games to m-commerce more and more. We see more companies spending more marketing dollars in getting their users to purchase and make more daily purchases in their m-commerce apps, such as shopping apps, taxis, of course, that we all experience, and many other services around mobile. We see more and more budgets shifting towards that compared to games, although games are still pretty big in our platform. So we're definitely an international company by nature. Our major markets would be US, China, India, Korea is a big market for us. Russia is a big market for us, and Japan is also a very fast-growing market. We find success in all of these countries. All of them are still growing and expected to keep on growing in the next years. And we find that the countries that are the most mobile-centric to be the countries that we expect to be the most interesting for us and the fastest growing ones. And we see that the activity is aligned with the mobile adoption in every country. Russia is today among the top 10 countries for Appnext. More than that, it's about 15% of our activity. It's pretty high in our internal ranking. We now have more than we see. Using our timeline technology that was released a couple of months ago, we're now able to translate and understand the daily routine of more than 1.5 million users every day in Russia, which helps us to grow in Russia faster and faster. So, a couple of months ago, Russia was probably half of where it is right now in Appnext, and we are able to scale it up thanks to the new technology and thanks to the data that we are able to collect and understand better how the user's routine in Russia looks like. And what we also see in Russia is that more and more budgets are now spent via our platform to re-engage with users. So make sure that they return and buy. If it's different shopping apps, there's a fierce competition that we see in the platform on m-commerce in Russia or other fields. Like any other advertising sector in the world is a big issue. And in terms of when it comes to mobile, the good news is that it's under control. So what we see in the last year is that more and more companies within the funnel, within the marketing funnel or the attribution funnel, are spending more and more dollars in R&D to make sure that fraud is tracked and prevented from the beginning. We see that more and more companies are managing to expose different fraud activities and different fraud metrics that are happening now. So we are very optimistic that it's although it's an issue that becomes very controlled. So what we expect to see in the next couple of years is more and more companies leveraging different tools that are spotting if there is fraud activity. Very much user-centric. So if a couple of years ago and mobile following that was a lot about placement. So where do you see the advertisement? Where do you experience the user experience or interact with a certain ad? We see more and more companies and technology companies like Appnext becoming more and more user-centric and understand what the user is looking for better than before. And in a couple of years, what I expect to see is that we have not just the duopoly out there, but also other companies such as ourselves are able to understand better what the user is interested right now and be able to deliver a better experience, a better interaction and ad experience at that time. And it will become more and more sophisticated using the different data layers that we are now able to understand better than before. Now, all of us are becoming very savvy mobile users. We already have dozens of apps that we need. We keep on looking for different services every day, but either we have these services installed or we're looking for the services ad hoc. On the one hand, we install less apps than before, but on the other end, we are using more and more what we have. What I expect to see in the next years is how mobile becomes, and advertising in mobile becomes more of shifts the discovery problem to what apps am I actually using. So and what apps am I actually using, meaning like in real life, I know where the stores are. I need to pick which store am I going to use next. The advertising dollars will probably be spent on is how do the service provider, the advertiser, is able to tap into the interest of the user at that time. So we expect to see more and more what we call re-engagement campaigns and re-engagement activity, but it's actually more sales-driven marketing budgets that we will see. And that's a major trend that we expect to see. And Appnext as a company plans to is very prepared, is already released the right tools to do that, and expect to be one of the leaders in this field. Let me touch on what we see in terms of the app development, where we see app development happening in the next year. So if up to now developers created interactions with users as to what different services the user may use, if messaging apps, if different platform apps, what we expect to see, because of the trend, because of the fact that we already have a lot of these services installed, or they are out there, or they will become they will have an instant use thanks to instant apps that Google is releasing. What we expect to see is more of a trend of companies and developers integrating service-based monetization. What is service-based monetization? If we are using a certain messaging app that we're probably using it for a couple of hours a day, communicating with different with friends, family, and businesses soon, that becomes sort of our gateway for mobile. That's where we start our journey in mobile, and we expect to see more and more messaging apps, for instance, adding this service-based monetization. And the service-based monetization is being able to use different services from within that app. So if I will be able to order my a certain food from that app, or deliver from that app, or pick up a taxi via this app, then we've got a win-win-win situation where the developer, that messaging app, owns the experience of that user. The user finds a service easily, faster, and probably in a smarter way. And the service provider gets more and more users interacting and using his service. So that's a trend that we expect to see happening more and more. That's why a couple of months ago we released Appnext Actions. Appnext Action is created exactly to solve that service-based monetization, to provide service-based monetization solution. Basically, to make sure that every app in the world is able to integrate different services into their app, whether if it's a messaging app, whether if it's a keyboard app, whether if it's a lock screen, or whether if it's the device manufacturer that is now shipping millions of devices every year, but most of the services are happening outside the device experience. So we created Appnext Action to solve that problem and to provide them with a solution to tap into the service-based monetization. And we expect it to be a very, very significant trend that is developing. I think that more and more advertisers are interested in finding the right profile or the right intent at that time of the user, and any signal that the developer is able to collect and understand, or the ad platform is able to collect and understand what the user state is, what's his behavior, what's the context of what is he doing, will contribute to the ad experience that eventually we provide. So I find it really interesting. I think it's part of the same trend of all of us trying to understand what the user really needs at that time. And if we're able to tap into the information and understanding, it will just make the whole experience better. In terms of games, I have to say I don't have enough time to spend in games. My kids are all over games. They're using every game that we have advertising on our platform. They're just testing each and every one of them. Finding myself using couple of apps that are more of productive apps, such as I'm a big fan of Evernote, for instance. I'm a big fan of Waze, Israeli company. I'm a user and fan of Twitter as well. So mostly things that are for communication and things that helps me control my day-to-day life of trying to get everything in the right place, in the right to-do list. All of my 200% of my time is invested in Appnext. I think that every startup today that is able to leverage what mobile can contribute to improve our lives is interesting. From healthcare to day-to-day task completion startups are very interesting, the most interesting are the ones that able to help us with our health. That's something that I'm personally very interested in. I think that we need to know how to use that device that we're holding in hand all day long to improve our real day-to-day life. It's definitely not for sale. I think in general, I mean, you cannot be an entrepreneur and have an exit plan in mind. If you do that, you probably miss the whole point of building a company. And if you are very passionate about what you do, you probably don't think about how you sell it as soon as possible, right? Our plans are to keep developing the products and the technologies that we are doing that will make an impact in the mobile ecosystem, and keep developing them and scaling them and have more and more partners and more clients to use these technologies. And if eventually we are able to tap into the 1% of what's happening, and we're able to influence the 1% of what's happening in the mobile around the world, I mean, we probably made hit our target. The plan for Appnext is to keep on growing the company and keep on shipping great technologies and products to do that. In terms of our day-to-day experience in mobile is evolving. We are using our mobile devices differently than before. A couple of years ago, we were all about how do we use this house that we just bought, and we renovate it, and we decide what exactly we want to place in every part of the house. But now it's been a couple of years, and we're living in that place, in that apartment, for instance. We're now using it daily. So what we see and what we expect to see in terms of the trend is that the usage becomes different. We, as a savvy users of mobile, we're learning how to use it smarter and smarter. We already know what services we want to use, but we need to decide which one are we going to use. Second, I expect to see more and more assistance becoming a major part of what we do, how we use mobile. When it comes to desktop, we have one single place that we start our journey every time we open the browser, right? So when we're looking for information, when we're looking for services in desktop, we have one place where we start, one assistant that is called the Google search bar. Or in other countries there are other search engines, but most of the world it's one text search box called Google. I expect, and that controls all our experience, and I expect to see that in mobile we have a couple of these assistants helping us to complete this action, complete this task, and to find that one entry point that is helping us to do different things. So assistants are going to be major trend and major part of what we do in our day-to-day. And my recommendation is that, and expectation is that there won't be one assistant. I don't see one company controls it all. We see a lot of companies trying to tap into that space in mobile. If it's Bixby, if it's Google, if it's Facebook via Messenger, but my recommendation is that every app that has significant number of users that is using it app can become an assistant by nature, because it can integrate different services. And last, in terms of trend, is that I'm expecting the looking for an app, install an app from the store, have it on your device, to become less and less popular. So my guess is that in the next year or two, when we want to use different services that we don't have installed already, we'll have a certain button that we can click and open an app even without installing it. Basically, we will shift the desktop software concept of apps, which is was driving our usage up to now to a click to use experience. When we click on an app, use it, close it. Instant apps of Google is about to help that happening. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time, or at least I don't dedicate enough time to read books. That's something that I would so happy to do more. I'm trying to keep up to speed in terms of what's happening in the tech space around the world, specifically the mobile tech space, the tech space. Which apps and which services are the development of new technologies around our mobile and so on. So I'm a big consumer of news around it. When it comes to books, I recently read Hooked of Nir Eyal, which I find a must-read book that every entrepreneur in every product-first company should read before he starts. I found that one brilliant. Have a mission, be passionate about it, solve a problem that exists. Make sure that what you do is something that is needed, solves a problem. Do it only if you're passionate about it, and do it obsessively. You invest the minimum to see if there is need for that product or that service, and understand that in this journey of building a company or creating a service or creating a solution, there are many small pivots along the way that you understand that one thing wasn't right and you need to change, and then you keep on changing. And make sure that you commit to the changes and do the changes, because the only way is to fail fast, keep on improving, but always have in mind what's the mission and why are you doing it.